this section everyone is going to watch, and so that you understand sort of the broad general procedures that we're going to be following in terms of scoring and some of the other facets of judging an event. So equipment and supply needs. If there is anything that you need ahead of time, I've got a lot of stuff. I really prefer, obviously, because there's 46 events, that the event supervisors, to the best of their ability, get the materials that they need. But I understand that there's some things that are very difficult. One of the things that we're not going to be providing anymore are stopwatches, because everybody's got a smartphone now. So please use your smartphones as a stopwatch. So we won't have those anymore. If you do need supplies, get those to me at least a week before. When I say at least a week, meaning that at least a week is the deadline. So make sure you get that before 1 week prior to the competition. And so that way I've got time to get the materials and everything. But again, I sort of want all the supervisors to get the materials to the best that they can. Now, if there's any copies that you need, get those for 8 days before. If you want me to make copies, I can do that, especially if they're color copies. If there's color copies and you need those, then send them to me, because I can get those printed super cheaply. I will not reimburse for color copies, because at FedEx they are tremendously expensive, and it costs hundreds of dollars to do a full set. So I encourage you to either run black and white copies or get those to me well in advance if you need color copies. So team numbers. All of the teams will have team numbers assigned. They are B up from 01 to B42 and C1 to C42. They will have a wristband. The wristband has got their team number on it. And for many of the events, these are assigned hours for the teams, and I'll show you the schedule coming up. But they will need to come in whenever they're assigned, whether they self-schedule or whether it's on the schedule itself. So when they also come in, make sure that they sign in as they enter the room or the location. Vital that this occurs, because we use this for no-shows. If there is a team on the scoring system that is listed as a no-show, we look at the sign-in sheet to ensure they actually did not sign in. We've had cases where they were listed as a no-show, but they had in fact signed in to the event, and somewhere along the way a test sheet was lost. So we want to make sure that we do that for all of the events. So as I mentioned earlier, there are event templates, and you can download these from the website that's on the event supervisor page, and this will really help with the organization of your event, and this is particularly for the lab and research-based events. Start time. So make sure that you start at the beginning of each hour and do not go late. So these are 50-minute long events for the lab and research-based events. Even some of the engineering events require that they go for the full hour, because there's a test component, even those research-based events. So they can come in late, but they are not allowed to stay later as a result. They also do not have to walk in together. So it is possible that one student will check in, and then a couple minutes later, another student from the same team will check in. All of the teams that come from a single school are assigned to the same block for the pre-scheduled events that I set up. So if there are 3 teams from a single school, they all come in at that same time. So here's a copy of the schedule. So there are, as you see here, there's an impound that looks like 9 to 9:50. In fact, it's earlier. And by the way, this is an earlier schedule, because disease detectives we are running at 8 a.m. this year. So this is an example from a previous year, but we're running at 8 a.m. So we want the impound to start as early as 8 a.m. so that you've got enough time to evaluate the 42 teams' devices. Some of these, for example, anatomy and physiology on this schedule, are pre-scheduled by me. So the teams B1 to B7 need to show up at 9 to 9:50. They are not allowed to show up at any other time, and they cannot make schedule changes. There are other events that are self-scheduled, so the teams go in to a scheduling system, and then they pick the block or the time in which they want to show up. Now, I don't have the self-scheduling down to any more than a 1-hour window, so you're going to get a list from me that shows the 7 teams that are scheduled at this time, the 7 that are in 11 o'clock, and so on. So the teams could come in and say, can we compete at the beginning of the hour? So it's up to you on how you want to organize the 7 teams within that hour. If you tell them, oh yeah, you could come at 12:30 and not at 12 o'clock, that is up to you. So it's all up to you how you want to run your event. Just be consistent throughout the day. So before any student leaves the room, make sure that all the materials, this is for lab and research-based events, are all cleaned up. They've been accounted for. And you can actually tell them ahead of time that you're going to assign penalties if they don't leave their area clean and organized as it was when they walked in. So you should have enough people in your room to help police this. And then at the end of the day, please make sure you clean up the room, that the rooms are back in order so that everything is ready to go for classes on Monday. And then you'll have garbage bags that are in your envelopes that you'll be receiving from me, and use that to pick up any garbage. But again, you can organize the room as you need, but just make sure everything's back in place and the room is super clean at the end of the event on Saturday. Okay, disqualifications. We reserve disqualifications only for the most extreme cases of student conduct and behavior. So if they are outright disrespectful, then that is a disqualification. A disqualification is not that they made an honest attempt at constructing their device and it didn't work, or it fell apart, or the tower or the bridge didn't fit across an opening. That would be, it could be a no-show depending. We'd want to look in the rules, but disqualifications are reserved for the most extreme cases of sportsmanlike conduct. So if there is a problem with this where there's student behavior, a student walks out, they call you names, they write something stupid on the paper, we've had that happen, then I need to know about that so that we can notify the team that they're going to be disqualified. So we also want to note why they're being disqualified with evidence on the scoring sheet and also on the student work. So there, like I say, there is a difference between legitimate mistakes and blatant disregard for the rules. So you really want to err on they're not a mistake on the rules, but they've really acted poorly. Okay, so as I said, again, this is what it is not. It's not when students attempted but didn't follow the rules. Not when they built something correctly, or not when they didn't have safety equipment. If they don't have safety equipment, they can't compete. They just can't compete. So that would be a no-show. Okay. So mistakes. If you do make a mistake, and you can catch it in the first hour, then go ahead and fix that mistake immediately, and then everyone will have the same playing field. But if you make a mistake and you catch it in the second or third hour, by all means don't fix the mistake, because we want to make sure that the conditions are the same for all the teams. If a mistake is made, there is a process that the students can follow to question that. And it may be that you did make the mistake, they do file an arbitration, and if they file the arbitration and you made the mistake and you're continuing to make the mistake, then on this paper, fill out what you did and that you didn't correct it. Ironically, sounds strange, but say that, yes, I made the mistake, but I've applied that same mistake to all the teams throughout the day, and we will not rule against the judge for this. Now, if you make a mistake in the first hour and correct it, then that's a valid reason to uphold the arbitration, and we'll have to figure out a means to fix that. So the students, if they do disagree with the decision of an event supervisor, there's an arbitration process. They come and get this at the help desk. The students fill it out, not the parents, not the teachers, although the teachers do sign off on this. They can help word it, but it has to be the words of the students. And then they bring it to you, the student does, to have your comments on there. And then we'll likely send somebody from the arbitration team out to talk to you and get more information, which is fine. And then we'll post this for the teams to see. Generally, with the students filing, we tend to err more on the side of the students. It used to be with parents, we would decline those almost immediately because it's usually one team seeing what another team has had happen across the teams, and we want what happened to them. So this is not a getcha to try to gain a competitive advantage. It's a process to fix problems. So parents and teachers are allowed to watch on the outside events. If it's posted on the schedule that they're allowed to come into specific rooms, they can, but generally if the door is closed, they are not allowed in. So this is particularly the case with lab and research-based events. No adult is allowed in the room that comes with a team, and there will be 3 to 5 to 7 event supervisors and assistants on every single event. If it's an outside event, then they need to remain at a distance, and they cannot engage in any kind of communication that will help the students. So, and they should not engage with you about problems. It should be you and the students that are discussing what's going on.